Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, home of the 14th ranked Louisville Cardinals football team. And in Maryland, my good friend, longtime friend, esteemed colleague, John Webster. How you doing, John?
Gary, I'm doing great, man. And congratulations to the Cardinals and their number 14 ranking in the polls. Hello to everybody in the audience today. We look forward to having a great, lively discussion about a few different sports and a few different teams. So, Gary, let's dig into it.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. First, we have to say hello to our traffic cop and such. You know, the guy that keeps us grounded. You know, Mr. John Pitt. You know, I hope John's doing well. We'll talk about his team, but we won't talk with him about it because we understand his pain. Speaking of pain, John, let's just get right into it. For the local teams this weekend, we're going to talk about it by sport. It was a rough weekend. The Ravens lost. The Commanders lost on Thursday. Maryland lost. Let's see. The Dallas Cowboys lost. The New York Giants lost, but, you know, that's no big deal. That's not local, but since they're in a division, we lump them all in. I don't know where to begin. Oh, wait a minute. No, yes, I do know where to begin. The Washington Commanders. John, for the third straight game, that defense has laid a flat-out egg. I mean, you could make an omelet out of the last 3 weeks of what they've been doing out there. They're rotten eggs, so I don't know if you'd want to do it. But that game, and I can't remember how whether we even touched on it, probably just referenced it. But I remember thinking all week, as bad as the Bears have looked, for all the rumors and speculation about Chicago's coach, I kept saying they're playing Washington. And if there's ever a team that could give them their first win and end a 14-game losing streak, it's the Washington Commanders. And, John, they went out and did exactly what I thought they would do.
That game was out of hand very early. All phases of the game, the Commanders struggled. First play of the game, it was an incomplete pass, but the Bears went long, and the defensive back was trailing the receiver. If Justin Fields had put the ball in better stride for the receiver, it would have been an easy touchdown. 3-4 plays later, they ran another go pattern or a double move, whichever you want to call it, and they got a touchdown. The defensive back trailing the play again. You and Pitt had text messages going, or was it? Yeah, well, maybe it was just you. You were texting John and I, Gary, about the game, and I said to you then, and I've always said I don't know a lot about football. I
don't sell yourself short, man. We've had too many discussions on it. So yeah, you do know something about football.
But I still defer to you. But it just seemed like something was not percolating correctly in the secondary. I saw too many times where the defensive back was trailing the receiver, or the receiver did a double move. The defensive back went for the first move, and the receiver's off to the races. And I didn't see a lot of double coverage or something rolling up into a zone to help out. It just seemed like whoever the receiver was just getting beat one-on-one. I don't know. They were totally flat in the first half. It was 27-3 at halftime. They came out second half, got a touchdown. They stopped them. But I think a big part to that was the next drive they had. I think they were going to move again, but Logan Thomas fumbled. And I think that put a little slowdown on their momentum.
Yeah.
And, final score was 40-20. It's just too big of a hole to come back out of, Gary. You're down 27-3. You think about the worst football that you've ever seen and you pretty much can say what the Commanders were looking like in the first half last Thursday night.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
It was
The
rough.
thing with this team, offensively, and again, I mean, the offense has some issues, even though they redeemed themselves in the second half. The fumble aside, I think the play calling was much more aggressive, which I guess that happens when when you're down. You just pull out all the stops and we can break down Sam Howell another time. I mean, I think this one is squarely on the defense because they made DJ Moore look like a Pro Bowler. I forgot that he played at Maryland. I mean, it's like I had to be reminded of that because I was like, "Who is this kid? Who is this guy?" And I had to be reminded that he played at Maryland, and that one's on me too. But the big
Gary,
thing is,
Gary, you're being nice. No, you're being conservative, saying uh, he was playing like an all pro. You're being conservative. They made him to look like the next coming of Jerry Rice. I mean, it was
I was
two
going to say
two.
Charlie Joyner, but okay.
You know what I mean? 240 yards in
Yeah.
receptions, 3 touchdowns, and I. You say you forgot him at Maryland. That's fair. I mean, he's a good receiver, but he
Not
the
240 yards good
the
like that.
commanders
No.
really, and I don't take anything away from DJ Moore. He had a great game.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him. I won't take anything away from him. But doggone if they just didn't leave him open over and over and over again. I mean, it was
Yeah.
just whew.
I've just never seen so many consistent coverage busts, and that might sound contradictory, but it was just like every time they went to him, I forgot how many times he was targeted. I want to say it was something like 14 times, and I think he caught something like 11 of those passes, 10 11 of those passes. Either way, there's something going on in that defensive room out at Commanders Park. And I don't know how much of it is on Jack Del Rio. I don't know how much of it is on the secondary school, but it's a bad plan. And we're looking at this 3 weeks running where they have just given up 35 or more points to Philadelphia, well, to Buffalo, Philadelphia, and now Chicago. Two of those you could kind of understand, because given the gravity of the teams, of the strength of the teams. But at home, that shouldn't happen. And there's a problem going on there. I don't know whether Del Rio has lost that room or not, but something's got to give because you obviously put a whole lot of pressure on your quarterback or on your offensive coordinator to try to regroup, and of course the running game wasn't generating anything because they were just setting up things to try to force Howell to pass anyway. Yeah, he had his moments, but it was still one of those things where you're scrambling, you're desperate, and he was going to make mistakes. But I'm putting this one squarely on a defense for once again digging a hole and really forcing the offense to have to try to play from behind in a hurry, and they're just not built for that. That's just not who they are right now.
Yeah, it's rough. They got Atlanta this week.
And
Atlanta's
that's no
coming
gimme
off
either.
Atlanta's coming off a big win. They won on a
Mm-hmm.
last second field goal this past Sunday. So it doesn't get any easier for them. And the other thing I'll say about Sam Howell is a very gritty quarterback, plays very hard. But if he doesn't learn how to go down and slide or just fall down or just go out of bounds,
Yeah.
he's going to have a short season. I
Yeah.
know what he was trying to do. He was trying to fight for every yard, help the team. I get it. But he's got to understand there's another play to go. There's another play to run because he's going
Yeah.
to get himself seriously hurt. He was
Yeah.
continually breaking tackles. He was making great runs, but the hits that are going to be coming behind those broken tackles are going to end up being devastating for him. And I don't want to see that happen.
No, neither do I. And there's a time when you have to just learn how to eat the ball or learn how to throw it away or something. Just, don't put yourself out there to become a pinball.
Yeah.
And that's something, that it's a growing pain he's going to have to learn through, well, pain. And he's absorbing too much pain right now for this point in his career. And he's just got to learn how to, again, either dump it or just take a sack. Like you said, there's another play. There's always another play, but don't do something where you're either going to sacrifice yourself or cause a turnover. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why, and to me that comes down to coaching. I'll just say it like that. And this is something that probably goes to the enemy too, that you've got to tell your quarterback it's okay to throw it away. It's okay to maybe take a sack rather than try to be a hero. And that's my biggest concern, that he's trying to be a hero and he's just not there yet. So,
yeah.
Well, let's talk about the other team in the division, the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not here to really throw dirt on them. I mean, as tempting as it might be, I know everybody's talking about where Dak Prescott's gonna go next, but John, what you said earlier about Mike McCormick, that he was essentially coaching for his job. The question now is he going to get fired in season? Because that was absolutely pathetic. Just, I mean, I don't root for Dallas, but I've always said the league needs Dallas to be successful. They need them to be relevant. Right now, they're just a punching bag, and we could, Mike McCarthy. I mean, I just don't know what to make of his status right now, because it was just an awful game plan.
Well, that's another game where offense, defense, special teams, 49ers dominated the game. It was 42-10. Could have been a lot worse. It was 21-7 at halftime, and really should have been 31-7, Gary. The 49ers fumbled on the 2-yard line when they're getting ready going for a touchdown. And then there was a field goal they didn't get. It could have easily been 28-7 or 31-7 at halftime. That's the first thing I'll say. Next thing, my take, Gary. I'm never rooting for any coach to lose a job. I don't want to see that happen to anybody. As far as McCarthy, if Jerry Jones were to pull that trigger, which I hope he doesn't, and I don't think he will, because you don't have any options. Your option would be Dan Quinn right now. His defense just gave up 42 points. So what's going to happen? And then you look at it, what defenses are seeing, what offenses are seeing, what other teams are seeing now, and it was shown to them by the Arizona Cardinals. Micah Parsons is an unbelievable pass rusher. He wants to be the next Lawrence Taylor. Long way to go to be that, my friend, but that's a good goal to have. Yeah. But what Arizona did, they ran at him. You run at a pass rusher, it takes away the pass rusher. Now he's got to think about the run. So on Sunday, he was lined up on the side with Trent Williams. Trent Williams is an all-pro tackle, one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
And then they ran at him, and you got Trent Williams, and he's a tremendous tackle. The other question I would have, why didn't Dallas, and again, I don't know football like you, Gary Graves. I don't. But my question is, why don't you take Micah Parsons from in front of Trent Williams and put him on the other side? Let him rush from that side. Yeah. Instead of putting him on in front of, and what the 49ers were doing, they would chip block sometimes. Sometimes they'd have two people back there. What's the fullback's name? Kuyak or something. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it either.
He went to Harvard. Sometimes he would chip block on them. The Cowboys are what the Cowboys are. They can't. There's nothing they can really change. I don't think they're as bad as they showed the other night, but I don't think they're as good as people want to make them to be either. So when you talk about Dallas and you look at Dak Prescott, yes, Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions. Yes, he did. But that's not the reason they lost. That's one of the reasons, but not the only reason. That defense was horrendous, terrible. I
Yeah.
mean, they did nothing. And you can't say just because they didn't have Trayvon Diggs. I mean, no, no. They just didn't get it. And that's one of those nights where it may be where McCarthy throws the film away because I don't know what you could. They did nothing right the whole night, Gary. They
Yeah.
did nothing right. It was a situation of penalties, uh, not a good
Breakdowns.
running game.
Yeah.
They had 7 possessions in the first half, and on 6 of them, they did not get a first down.
Yeah.
Let me say that for you again, Gary. They had 7 possessions in the first half, and 6 of those possessions in the first half, they did not get a first down. Paulus, the running back, you didn't get a good running game going. You want to get it out to CD Lamb, and you got what's the good Brandon Cooks. You want to get him out there. None of that was working. None of that. I mean, yeah, Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions. One of them, he overthrew everybody except for the San Francisco 49er defender. That was the closest one to one of the interceptions. But that defense, Gary, that defense didn't show anything. They didn't show up. And like I said, Arizona has shown something. You run at Parsons. You keep running. You keep pounding. And then they had an injury. What's the name? Van Der Esch. He's out for an indefinite amount of time. So, hey, I would love. Well, I can't because Dante is one of the most realistic Cowboy fans I know. He loves him, but he's realistic because I was going to say I would love to get him on here and go back and forth, but he's realistic. He realizes they're only so good. They're only so good. They got happy because they buried the New England Patriots the week before, but this is not your mother and father's New England Patriots they're playing now. It's not. It's a different New England Patriots, and Cowboys need to forget about this game. Get ready for next week.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of teams saw that film and figured out maybe a way to neutralize Michael Parsons. That's the only problem. I mean, it might be an aberration. Dallas might adjust. They got to adjust, or else they're going to get popped again. And
a good coach.
And again, this is one I am laying squarely at Mike McCarthy's feet because you didn't have your offer. You didn't put your quarterback in a position to succeed. And before, and as I say that, I'm not taking anything away, any blame from Dak Prescott because 3 interceptions are 3 interceptions. But as you said, when you have that many possessions and you don't even get a first down, there's something wrong there. And you didn't make an adjustment. You barely made an adjustment to get 10 points. But again, that defense, absolutely horrible. And I'm going to say unacceptable. And I know that Dante and just about every Dallas Cowboys fan in Washington is probably saying the same thing.
When have you seen an NFL game where you put your second string quarterback in at the end because the score is so bad, but it's like 13 minutes left in the game? When have you seen that?
73-0 Chicago Bears over the Washington Redskins.
And what year was that?
60, like 1942 or something like that.
49ers had their second string quarterback in the game in the fourth quarter. It's like 13 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. Anyway, we had to move along because that was just absolutely horrible, as Barkley might say. All right, moving down a level to college. Here in Kentucky, there were 2 compelling storylines. One of which was whether Kentucky could give Georgia, top-ranked Georgia, 2-time defending national champion Georgia, a game. I mean, they lost first place votes last week in the poll, and everybody was wondering whether this was something for Texas to take. Well, we saw what happened with Oklahoma and Texas. Then we saw what happened with Georgia and Kentucky. Scored on all 6 first half possessions, four touchdowns, and basically just curb stomped them. Then there's no other way to describe it. This is not about Kentucky. This is about the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't know if it's premature to put Brock Bowers in the Heisman discussion, but that dude looks good. And Carson Beck is a good looking quarterback. It's easy to look good when you got a tight end that basically gets open and can make one-handed catches. But anybody that says that Georgia has fallen off, take a look at that game. They've got no other competition in the SEC East. I can't think of anybody that could really give them a game other than maybe Tennessee at this point. So let's just look toward Atlanta, where they're probably where they're going to be in December, and figure out whether somebody from the West can come after them. What do you think?
Well, I definitely think Bauer should be in the Heisman talk. Unbelievable player. He made some unbelievable catches against Auburn. Matter of fact, he made some crucial catches against Auburn to help them win the game. If you remember last week, as far as Kentucky and Georgia, my question was, and I answered it, I didn't think that Kentucky could. Would they be able to match Georgia's intensity in the first quarter? They, in my opinion, they were not. And I think a lot of that game was decided in the first and second quarter, early.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia just dominated them. They ran on them, they passed on them, they did anything they wanted. So, Georgia's, was it SEC East they're in, I guess. So they're tough. That other side where Alabama is, and who else you got over there? LSU is over there.
LSU, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is there, but Ole Miss has already lost to Alabama. LSU has to go to Alabama. Alabama just went to Texas A&M and beat them. It's probably going to be Alabama and Georgia. We'll see what happens. A lot of football still to be played. A lot of football.
Yeah,
but I think you had another game in Kentucky too, didn't you, Gary?
Yeah. Are you sure you want to talk about that, John?
Hey man, let's go for it. Let's go for it.
Well, okay. Notre Dame just they got beat by Louisville. And John, going into that game, I really didn't have a feel either way. I felt like either team could win because I'm not going to say that Louisville needed it more than Notre Dame. I think obviously Notre Dame needed that game to kind of build momentum off of the Duke win and really to try to put Ohio State behind them. But that second half, just after taking a 13-10 lead, they give up 17 straight points and had no answer for Jawar Jordan. Not many teams have this year. The thing I saw several tweets about it. I think somebody told me that they said it on the broadcast, is that Notre Dame just looks like a worn down team from a tough stretch where you've got 4 consecutive ranked foes. Yes, that and I think that's probably the biggest factor. But what's come out of that are discussions and speculation about whether now it's time to replace Marcus Freeman. I'll say it right now, no, because you got a situation similar, and I said this before we went on, about, I'm hearing the same things about him that I heard about Tyrone Willingham, who barely got a chance to finish his cup of coffee there, in my opinion. I think it's premature to even talk about it. I think you've got to let the process play out and see. And there's plenty of time to improve. The thing about that Louisville game, and I don't know why they didn't really look at the game last year when Hartman was with Wake Forest, and he had just a disastrous game. 3 interceptions, something like 5 fumbles. Come to Louisville again, 3 interceptions, 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, 2 sacks. And it's like they didn't do anything to, they didn't get the ball in Estime's hands that much, which was kind of puzzling to me, because I feel like you have to take pressure off your quarterback. I don't know whether it was just a tired team or a team that was just overwhelmed by, really by a much more physical team, which I guess, again, goes to fatigue. But as much as impressive as Louisville was, I was just really surprised that after staying with them for a half, and let's just say for probably about 35 minutes, that they just collapsed.
Well, congratulations to Louisville. They beat Notre Dame. That was an important game for Notre Dame to lose. I will say, I don't want to go into a lot of it, but I knew that Notre Dame had lost to Ohio State. I knew Ohio State was playing Maryland. I needed Maryland to beat Ohio, and I needed Ohio State to beat Maryland because that makes Notre Dame's loss look better. So the first part happened. All I needed Notre Dame to do was win, which they did not. They were not able to. So let's go over a couple of things you talked about. Didn't have a lot of oomph in them. People saying they ran out of gas. They look flat. Okay. Schedule is a schedule, man. They got to play Ohio State. They got to play Duke. They got to play Louisville. This week they're playing USC. Then they got a week off. Then they're playing Pittsburgh. Then they're going to play Clemson. Then you also got Stanford on Thanksgiving weekend at Stanford. Notre Dame has always had a difficult schedule. I mean, it's what Notre Dame does. People agree or disagree. It is what it is. They didn't take care of it. They got beat. A couple plays stick out in my mind from that game, Gary. One, they had 3rd and 17 on Louisville. Louisville had 3rd and 17. They stopped them. 4th down. Notre Dame gets a personal foul penalty for a face mask. A face mask on a play where the face mask occurred totally away from the play. Didn't even have anything to do with the tackle. So that's lack of discipline. Total lack of discipline, in my opinion. That was a terrible penalty. Should not have happened. And then another play, and I'll say this, it sealed in my mind what the fate of Notre Dame was going to be. You have 4th and 5 from your own 35-yard line. You still got 13 minutes to go in the game. I think you're still in the 3rd quarter.
Yeah.
You go for it. You don't get it. That shows panic. Why would you do that? You're still in the game. I think the score right there was 17-13. You're right there. You know, the defense has not been playing lights out, but they haven't been playing bad. The thing that's going to happen with Notre Dame as they move forward, the offense is going to have to catch up. The defense is spending too much time on the field. There's too many 3-and-outs. Hartman had a rough game. Estime didn't get a lot of yards. Jeremiah Love didn't get a lot of yards. They're going to have to go back and get ready because USC's coming. USC's another ranked team. We're Notre Dame. We play what's in front of us. That's all you can do. The other thing we'll discuss real quick. You mentioned people have been talking to you about letting Marcus Freeman go. This is his 2nd season. He had one game at the end because Kelly left, so he had the bowl game against Oklahoma State. But really, this is his 2nd season. Gary, if you got a second, I want to share something with you, okay? 12-1-2, 15-2-3, 16-3-1, 17-6, 16-10, 13-10, 19-6, 16-9, 15-10. Those are the records for the first 2 seasons of the following coaches for Notre Dame: Newt Rockne, Frank Leahy, Eric Parsegian, Dan Devine, Brian Kelly, Lou Holtz, Charlie Weiss, Bob Davie, and Tyrone Willingham. Right now, Marcus Freeman is sitting at 14-6 in 2 seasons. They're 5-2 this year. At worst, they're going to win. At worst, they'll win 3 of these next 5. At worst, that's 17, probably 17-8, 17-9. Bob Davie was 16-9. And we know what happened. Charlie Weiss was unbelievable. He was a rock star. He was 19-6. After his first 2 seasons, we know what happened with Charlie Weiss. We know. What is my point? When firing Marcus Freeman, in my opinion, is not an option. Everybody knows me. I don't advocate to fire anybody. But this is not what needs to happen. They got to go back to the drawing board, tighten things up, and move from there. Lou Holtz was 13-10. Yeah. Of course, the next season he won the national championship, but Lou Holtz was 13-10. Dan Devine was 17-6, and of course he won the national championship next year because they beat Texas in the Cotton Bowl. But with all that being said, Marcus Freeman, you're going to have to give space and let him do what he needs to do. You're going to have to help him. Also, Notre Dame needs to look at themselves at a couple things too, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
There was a line coach, the offensive coordinator at Utah. Can't think of his name right now. They were going after him to get him to come to Notre Dame. And it was going to be a package deal to get him and the offensive line coach at Utah. Both of them were going to come.
Yeah.
You bring him to South Bend, you talk to him, you wine and dine him and everything. And usually when you do that with somebody and you do all that, a deal's getting ready to come. Well, nothing happened. You didn't like the buyout clause. Well, you knew what the buyout clause was before you got there. Why did you just not interview him?
Yeah.
If you want Freeman to be successful, you got to support him in the moves that he wants to make.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. It's
The
not
thing,
all on Freeman. And the other thing I will say, this is Freeman's second year as a head coach. Everybody, alumni of Notre Dame, Subway alumni of Notre Dame, loyal fans of Notre Dame, you know what you were getting when you got him.
yeah.
This is a guy who's going to be a very good coach, maybe a great coach, but he's going to have growing pains. He's never been a head coach before. You got to be patient with it. Yes, I hate losing to Louisville. Yes, I hate losing to Ohio State. Yes, I hate losing in the manner that they lost. But terminating this guy is not the answer.
Amen. Amen. I couldn't agree more. And I think what angers me about sports, particularly with college sports, that yeah, I know coaches are paid to win. And for what that's worth, like even here in Kentucky, now Stoops is catching heat because they said, well, he has yet to win a game of consequence in the SEC. And I'm thinking he's the winningest coach in program history. They've won more games than well, I think the third most games behind Georgia and Alabama. Over the last 6 years, I believe. He's made them competitive. The fact that we were even talking about whether they could beat Georgia a week ago says where he's taken his program. My point is that, in Notre Dame's case, the Subway alumni need to shut up. The critics need to shut up. This is just his second year. He hasn't put his stamp on. For that matter, he hasn't even recruited a lot of his own players yet. So we just don't know what's going to happen with him. His thumb is not on this program the way that it needs to be. And I still think that probably the best guy that was on that staff is coaching Western Michigan now. Who was the running backs coach a few years ago when they were we're going to the championship and in the playoffs. So, it's an adjustment, and just, enough with the social media, Monday morning quarterbacking and stuff. Just let this team play, because Notre Dame is Notre Dame and they will figure it the heck out. And that's all I got to say.
And you know me, man, tomorrow morning, I'll still be with them.
Yep.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, John, okay, Major League Baseball.
Hey, man, what is with you today, man? What do you want to talk about? All the bad things going on in my life?
No, I mean, we have to talk about what's current. John, it's not over till it's over. Yeah, the Orioles are down 0-2, but I still have faith in them. Everything that you said about their youth is been borne out in these first two games, but do I think it's over? No, because baseball is one of those weird sports rather, where any series can change. And I keep thinking about when the Nationals won the World Series 4 years ago. They go on the road. They won every game on the road to win the championship. Everybody thought that they were going to sweep the Houston Astros, and they got waxed at home. And that's with, let's see, well, Scherzer, missed the start because of arm issue. But again, you just never know. Before we went on, I was watching Minnesota and Houston. Yeah, Jordan Alvarez is just having one heck of a series. Right before, I mean, literally before I signed on, he had just hit his fourth home run of the series. Yeah, they're on the road. I think Houston is going to be Houston, but you know, the Orioles are still a resourceful team, so I still have faith in them. I might be wrong after the show is over. You know, it could be over, but look at the big picture. No matter what happens in this series, I still think they are set up for another run next year. We didn't expect it. Maybe it's a little too soon for them, but I still like where they're headed. To win 100 games with a team that we didn't even know whether they would win 70 games, I think is really, really promising. If you can keep that core together and get healthy, you had to find somebody to replace Bautista in the bullpen, you know, while he's out all of next year. But I still think their short-term future looks pretty good.
I agree, Gary. And I think they're a year ahead of schedule, to be honest with you. They have done a great job this year. It's not over with yet. They got to play tonight. They got Dean Kramer going on the mound. He's 13-5, but it's a rough night for Dean Kramer as well. He's got family in Israel, and we realize there's some unfortunate
Yeah,
incidents going
yeah,
on there, and that's going to be
important
on his
stuff.
mind as it should be as he's pitching tonight because he's concerned about the safety of his family. I totally get that. And my prayers are with him and his family. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so that's a difficult thing for him tonight. Orioles, the first game of the series, they lost 3-2. I think that was one of the ones I wish we could get back. That was a rough one. I think there was a miscommunication in the ninth inning with Gunnar Henderson and the steal and Hicks at bat. I think there was a miscommunication. Um, the game Sunday, it was Rodriguez did not have good stuff. He was struggling from the first inning, so he was getting behind batters, letting the first batter get on base. Key for a pitcher, a lot of times, Gary, you don't want to let the first batter get on base, but also every batter you face, you want to throw a strike. That's a key component. You want to get ahead in the count 0-1, not be down 1-0. And he was struggling with that. He had a high pitch count. They took him out in the fourth inning. Brought in Brian Baker, and Baker had some struggles. Walked the bases loaded. Then they brought in Webb. Webb gave up a grand slam. The thing with the Orioles that they did, and they always do, it's never over. They kept clawing back, but it was kind of like the Commanders. The hole was just too deep. They lost 11-8. It was just a lot. So we'll see what happens tonight. Believe it or not, the Orioles have a better road record than they do a home record.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens tonight in Texas. Rough pitcher they're going against Nathan Eovaldi. Nathan Eovaldi is 8-2 in playoffs in World Series. So that's rough. I think like a 2 or 3 ERA. So we'll see what happens. But I'm always proud of the Orioles. It's always Oriole magic. And, hey, man, I couldn't ask for anything more to what's happened this year. And it's not over yet. But, hey, man, I love my Orioles.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing, and again, this is baseball, and 3 100 win teams got beat either in their first game or the first two games, which shows you. I always, since they went to this new format, I feel like it favors the teams that those wild card teams that have a couple of games to get things together. They know it's a short series. You can basically pull out all the stops, and then when you get to the next one, you're kind of in a groove. And Texas is one of those teams. Texas, Philadelphia. I'm trying to think who did. Who's playing the Dodgers? I think Arizona. Yeah, I mean Arizona's in that same position against the Dodgers. And I think the last time out, didn't they like go like yard on Kershaw a few times? It's a weird game, John. It really is. It's very, very unpredictable. I think what I admire about the Houston Astros is that they're a team that figures it out. They'll take the blows. they counterpunch very well, and they can go ahead on points and then go for that knockout punch. How much of that has to do with Dusty Baker? I don't know. I do think that they have a different type of edge. With Dusty, I think it's just a confidence. And again, this is what I saw with with this game just before he came on. I think they had gone up something like 6-1, and Alvarez is
9-1.
Oh, it's
9
9-1.
to 1.
Okay, yeah. See, I had turned I had turned it off. But again, that's a team that, yeah, they took they split the first two games, then they go on the road, and now they've asserted themselves. That's what you have to like about them, whether you like the Astros or not. I don't have anything bad to say about them, because now I'm at a point where I respect what they're doing, because they've always been a good team, and it just made me mad about the whole cheating thing, that you just didn't have to do it. But now, like last year, now they're showing what kind of team they are.
They're tough, man. And I you know how I feel about Dusty Baker, man. I love Dusty. He's one of the
Oh,
best.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey, look,
so
both of us. I know you're not a Washington fan, Washington Nationals fan, but there's still a part of me that wishes he was there to really see that team through. But baseball being what it is, that if you can't get out of the first round, for several years, that something has to happen. And that was the thing that had hung over his career, until he really got a team that he could mold with talent in his own image, because that's a team he can run a pitcher out there a lot, but he's got pitchers that can handle it. And you lose Garrett Cole and you're still strong. You win a World Series without Garrett Cole. That says something about your manager.
it's a totally well-run organization. Manager, general manager, farm system, the whole thing. Free agency. It's a well-run organization. You lose Garrett Cole, you still got Javier, you still got Justin Verlander there. I
You
mean,
still got
it's
Bregman,
Bregman, Altuve. I mean,
who might be the most underrated player in the game.
yeah. So they're hands down a great team. Great team.
Yeah. But John, we've come to the end of another glorious discussion of sports. I'll just say it like this: we have another sport to watch now, because the NHL started at 5:30 this afternoon with Tampa Bay and Nashville. And I don't know how much of a hockey fan you are. I love hockey. I loved covering it. And now we're only a week away from, in fact, we might even be less than a week away, because NBA exhibitions have started. So we're
Yep.
coming to that point in the year where all four sports are going at the same time. College basketball is right around the corner. But folks, watch all the sports you can. Look, even watch gymnastics if you have to, if you want to. And that's another glorious sport, because Simone Biles just continues to reinforce her bona fides as the greatest ever. So watch sports, but most importantly, watch us on YouTube, watch us on Facebook, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. If you need a link, just email either one of us. We'll send it to you. John, take us home.
Hey, man. Thanks a lot, Gary. We had another great show. Everybody, man, watch some sports. You got football, you got basketball, you got hockey, you got gymnastics, you got baseball. College basketball's getting ready to start. NBA's getting ready to start. Doesn't matter. Just watch some sports. Take care. We're going to see you again real soon.